welcome to Getting Past the Premium, everybody. We are excited today to have Lisa Brodersen. She is a senior loan officer with Guild Mortgage, also known as #Lisa the Loan Lady. And so today we're going to talk about how she views the role of an advisor in her industry, what she does with clients every day. Very similar to a lot of the things we talk about on the show, so we're excited to bring this conversation to you guys. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Getting Past the Premium podcast, where we focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Good to see you,
Thank
Lisa. This is going to be fun. We always joke about the show before the show, but I think Alex might have some content to throw out there on all the stuff we were talking about before we started. So I think before we jump into it, let's have, you want to give kind of everybody your background, who you are, what you do?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Lisa Brodersen over at Guild Mortgage. I have been in the mortgage industry for 7 years. I started off with a different local company, moved to Guild about 4 years ago. Before that, the majority of my career was with the military. I joined the Army Reserves right after 9/11. I mobilized as a transportation coordinator. Then when I came back off of my active service, I worked for the Department of Defense for several years, and I did benefits and payroll for the 4-state region.
Wow. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yes.
For your service.
You're welcome. Thank you. And then life found me in mortgages. I got really blessed and really lucky, and it's a great gig, and it's been wonderful to be in.
Wow. Yeah, well, we can tell you're passionate about it, but I think it's probably the passion is around helping your client, right? I mean, I think that's what we've talked a lot about. So maybe just your thoughts on, what does that mean to you, helping your client, advising your client, in your role and what you do on a daily basis?
You're absolutely correct. So serving others is my passion. It's what makes me really happy, drives my life. It makes everything good for me. Clients are huge for that. Most of my business comes from client referrals, 80% of it. So if I don't do a good job for my clients, I cut off a big stream of referrals. Yeah. So I do my very best to give them red carpet service. And part of that is taking the stress off of a very stressful process off of them. Getting a mortgage and getting financing, anytime you apply for anything that's finance related, whether it's insurance or, you're doing risk management, those are all stressful things that a client needs help and guidance with. Yeah. And being, I think, that person who is relatable to that stress gives them a sense of comfort that they can trust us. We're going to take care of them. So we do our very best.
Yeah. I can only imagine, after you close and you get the keys to your house, it's time to pop champagne. But before that, it's always not a pleasant experience. No. Which I think is interesting to talk about because, believe it or not, insurance is not the most exciting.
These are not sexy jobs that we have.
No. I was thinking about that when you said, I happen to find myself in mortgages. I'm like, that sounds like 90% of the people that are like, I found myself in insurance.
Nobody is like, I grew up wanting to be an insurance agent.
No one says that about loan officers either. No.
Yeah. So I guess, I'm always intrigued with client experience. Like, when you say, rolling out the red carpet, kind of walk us through, what you're doing to differentiate yourself and your practice.
So we try to be resources and also educators to set really good expectations. Part of it is the real estate industry right now in the last couple of years has been so bananas that it's stressful all in itself. Just finding a house and getting an accepted offer is like a unicorn.
Yeah.
And so that part is extremely stressful, and walking people through the expectation of, okay, it's all right if you don't find it right away. Your pre-approval is good for 4 months. Don't stress yourself out over it. The right house will present itself.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're confident and comfortable with the numbers before they go shop.
So they know what to do.
So they know this is what my monthly payment's going to be. This is what it's going to take for me to close. Because the worst thing that ever happens is they fall in love with the house and they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So we do everything we can to avoid that.
Don't go buy a Lamborghini while you're waiting.
Not unless you want to live in that Lamborghini. Nope.
Yeah.
No, so we do a lot of education. We
Yeah.
set a lot of expectations, and we try to have that open dialect and make them comfortable enough that they'll ask us anything that's on their mind, that they'll tell us before they go and do something that might impact their approval.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that. And even, you know, the average time for somebody to find a house in our market right now is 8 weeks. You see, 8 houses in 8 weeks. That's the stat. It just
No
I just
way.
heard it today and read it. So, you know, they're not seeing very many houses, but it's a long process. For 2 months.
Yeah.
They're out doing this. So we have to remind them throughout the process, we're on your team.
Yeah.
We're here. We're not going to give up on you. Don't give up on your search. This is your dream. You know, do we need to revisit things? Try and make them comfortable enough
Yeah.
that they feel like they're calling a friend. Like, I need some advice from my friend.
Yeah.
Totally.
What do I need to do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I hear a lot of similarities on what we try to preach and whatnot, but it is interesting because I feel like they're both kind of transactional businesses,
Yes.
right? So how do you've had to have had repeat business. Like, how do you stay in contact with your clients? Or,
There's so many ways.
Yeah.
So many ways. So, I mean, part of it is every year touching them. Not physically touching them, of course, but, touching them with the birthday cards, the anniversary cards, what's your home value done?
Yeah.
What's the market look like? Asking them, are you planning for events?
And continuing that education
Yes.
process.
Yes, we continue it throughout. We probably, reach out to our clients in our database probably 10 to 15 times
Yeah.
a year, even after closing. And like one of the things that I do every single year that's important to me is I send a gratitude letter to all of my clients to tell them what they have helped me accomplish.
That's cool.
Yeah,
They've
that's cool.
helped me put my son through college, who's going to graduate in May.
Nice.
They've helped my
Congratulations.
family, we take our kids and my husband's parents to Florida and have trips together. And like they helped me buy a car for my mom. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's cool. I've never heard of.
I would not be
What
able to
made you-
accomplish any of those things without my clients.
So,
What made you do that? Sorry.
yeah.
I started
I
a
think the
few
idea.
coaching. I do
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of coaching. I take a lot of coaching. I'm in mastermind groups. I love, that stimulation of what can we do better?
Yeah.
What are other people doing that I need to implement? So the gratitude letter is something I learned through coaching.
How many pieces of positive feedback do you get when you send that out?
So many.
Yeah.
Like, I have such great clients. Like, we do pies where they can come and get a pie for their family during the holidays. And we send them out fruit baskets. And sometimes we just send them gift cards to just say, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a $5 gift card to Starbucks. It's nothing spectacular,
No, it's the thought.
but it's the
right?
thought.
Yeah.
Yes. I appreciate you. I'm thankful for you. And I always tell them, my business doesn't survive without your referrals. We work solely by referrals, so please don't forget about us.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's a great. My mind's turning on it's because it's so applicable. I mean, that's what you mentioned. Is it is very similar because you mentioned Ryan transactional. The product is transactional, but the business
The relationship is not transactional.
should be completely relationship driven.
Yes.
And-
Which nothing speaks to that louder than doing that for people who aren't active clients.
Yeah.
Like in the risk management industry, at least the majority of the products pay the people who are advising them year after year after year
Yeah.
after year after
Yes.
year, who aren't doing half the stuff that you just rattled off.
yeah.
Yes.
I was-
My transaction only pays me that one time.
Yeah. I always think that's interesting in our business because the value of a client in our business is much higher than, say, in yours, it's a one-time transaction. But to your point, Ryan, the industry as a whole is so bad at that ongoing client experience,
Yes.
those ongoing touches, And granted, we we have to at some point touch our client at least once a year because you have to renew policies. But even that, to a great degree, has gotten a lot of that comes from the carrier.
Yes.
We
It's
can
not
be very
personal.
hands off
Yeah.
if we're not trying, and yeah, it's not personal. And so that's a great point to think about. That I don't really understand why our business is that way, but it's across the board.
Our business is that way too. You just have to think outside.
You have to-
Just because
Yeah.
everybody's
You
done
guys
it
are just
that
doing
way
different. Yeah.
doesn't mean that it should be done that way.
Do you feel like your prior life experience before mortgages found you that helped you differentiate this? Or is it like a
little
guild
bit.
thing or?
No.
Yeah.
I've always done this in my business. I think I learned early on that I needed to be really good about taking care of my clients and really good about asking for referrals.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't going to survive.
Yeah.
Being in a commission-based only job like this, you have to be really good at it's not pimping yourself out. It's just realizing how much you appreciate the clients that you have
Yeah.
and wanting to work with more people like them,
Exactly.
to support more people like them.
Which is an interesting take even on like your gratitude letter, because I could see some people, they're like, well, I don't want to tell all my clients about all the money that, they're giving me to go do what I want to go do. But it's like, well, you have a backwards mindset, like you're putting them in a better situation.
Yes.
And then you're feeding that with a phenomenal client experience that is then in turn feeding you, and it's one big circle and everybody's happy, and that's
Yes.
what works.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, a great how to sum it up. But at the end of the day, it goes back to it's client experience, but I think what you said about referrals too around that is working with people that you want to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and the best way to do that is through referrals.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't want to ask their client
Right.
for a referral. But at the end of the day, if you're doing a good job, most people would want to make that introduction, to their friend or to somebody
Yes.
they know to say, hey, I know you're looking to buy a house. Like I had a great experience with Lisa. She'll take care of you, and then it makes you feel good. But
Yes.
I don't know. It's just not. People in our industries just don't do enough of that, I feel like. And maybe it's because they're not confident that they are doing a good enough job. Who knows? But
That could
They're
be
worried,
part of it,
like,
maybe.
If I get my friend, then he'll really know.
Honestly, there are so many people in these service-related industries that will not ask for
Yeah.
referrals.
Yeah.
They'll do a good job. They'll try really hard, do everything right, except they forget that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a way that you cross that conversation with a client?
Yeah, I mean, usually I just tell them, we work 100% by referrals. We are so thankful to work with you. If you run into an opportunity that there's someone else that could use our services, please refer our team. We would appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem saying that, and I say that but that's the way I worked on that script.
Yeah.
I've worked on how to build it. Everybody says it
And
differently.
you're sincere.
But
and
that's what feels genuine to me, because it is genuine.
Yeah.
I truthfully mean it. I'm so appreciative, and I would love to work with other people like them.
Yeah.
Good people tend to flock together.
Wow. And then once they have that phenomenal experience, and then you phrase it the way that you do and everything else, like it
It has
means
to be
something.
genuine.
Yeah.
It can't just be, hey, if you're thinking about me, will you refer some business?
Yeah.
I'd like to do some more business for you.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say, you have to come up with something that's genuine to you.
Yeah, the other thing that I've actually had this said to me by a salesperson is that if I think they were asking us to close the business because they would get a trip if they sold one more piece of business that month or something, and I'm like,
That's an interesting way
really?
to approach it.
Yeah,
At least it was honest.
Yeah, very honest, I guess. But I
Straight up.
just coming out with it. All right, here we go. But I'm glad you're close to your goal, but it's not going to be because of us that you get over it.
Or if it is, it's not going to be because of you.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
happened to work for the client.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so that's funny. But
How do you guys ask for referrals in business?
I'll
So,
let you tackle that one.
yeah, similar process. We actually work with a company. We've had him on the podcast before, Dan Allison with the Feedback Marketing Group, who his background is in psychology. And waste a ton of time on this because listeners probably have heard it. But if you go back
and listen to the episode,
you go back and listen to Dan Allison's episode. But he brings like a psychological background to, having a client sit in that seat and walking through that conversation with them. And so it's very similar, but kind of sitting down and getting a client's feedback on how things have gone and whatnot, and then really revolves around education. Like, Mr. and Mrs. Client, here's what we do, and here's how we can potentially help. And I'm bringing this up to you because, if you or anyone else is ever in need of anything else, I want you to know that we're open and available to help, basically. So there's an entire process that we walk through to put the client in a position where it's comfortable with them, and it's done from an educational perspective. And because it's true, like I don't know, even in our own company, the amount of clients that probably know everything that we do and how we can help them from every angle it's not a high percentage.
Oh, we get it all the time. I didn't know you did that.
Yes.
So,
Shake my head.
That's how we approach it. We don't want somebody who we just got done creating a fantastic experience to not understand that we help them exit their company. And they go down the street to do that when we could have done it. We could have educated them on it.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, we do it in that format.
Yeah, I've heard of it. We've used a little bit before too, just in conversation because what you mentioned of, we build our business mainly on referrals. Another spin on that is basically saying, if we spend 50% of our time, in say traditional cold calling, whatever, trying to get new clients, that's 50% of our time that we're not spending with our clients.
Yes.
And so, if we're spending 80% of our time with our clients and getting that we need referrals in order to be able to do that, essentially. And again, a little bit different spin, but it makes sense, and I think people understand that.
Right.
And I think it's a good conversation to have. But yeah, we do like that Dan Allison approach that he teaches, I guess. And it's a separate meeting with the client, if done right. A lot of times that's hard to do, but
Yes.
If done right, it's a totally separate meeting. All you're focused on is how did we do? You bring up the conversation of referrals and basically ask the client, how do you like to give a referral? And then everything that we do. And if done right, again, it's a full meeting. But it's a really good way to do it.
It's easier to
That's a
do
really
when
good
you're
strategy.
engaged on an annual basis with them too, and you have an ongoing relationship, because then it's like, hey, how have we been doing? Sincerely, again, it's not just, you have to have, that's probably a whole nother conversation in and of itself, but you have to be sincere. You got to bring the empathy. You have to want to invest in the relationship.
Yes.
Otherwise, any one of these conversations can go down the slippery slope of like shortcutted to, you just want another name.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's truly not the case, but like, there is a business side of it too, that you got to keep referring, or if you want to use me again in the future, I'm not going to be here type of situation too. But
yeah. And so kind of on that note, because it's something we talked about before, but you mentioned one of the biggest pieces of that sometimes client experience is clients knowing everything that we do. And again, Ryan said we try really hard to do that in our business, and it doesn't always happen. It seems like we always get something like, I didn't know you did health insurance or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe your thoughts on what you do to kind of make sure you're educating clients on everything you do and what you can help with.
That is probably one of the hardest pieces to figure out. And for me, it's not everything that I can do. I can do mortgage financing. That's my world. That's what I live in.
Good.
But it's all the other pieces that I can connect a client with if they need it. So if they are talking about, planning for college, financial advisor, or wealth management, if they're having problems with their taxes, connecting them with someone who can actually do a really good job for them, insurance. Like those are the extra pieces where we don't want to just be a financial advisor for your mortgage. We want to be a financial partner for life. And even though we may not do the job, we want you to feel comfortable enough to trust us to connect you with someone. And so it is hard bringing that piece in. I think one of the things that we do that has helped with that piece and making people comfortable and making them remember that we're there for them is we do these short little videos. Like I may just send out a 30-second video just to say, hey, thinking of you. If you've got any life changes coming up, don't hesitate, give us a call. We're happy to walk through anything with you. Sometimes just that quick touch, not telling them everything that you can do and everything that you can connect them with, but telling them, hey, I want you to tell me if things are changing.
Spark something.
It sparks something.
Yeah.
And it's easier for people to digest just a quick moment than try to shove everything that you can do at them.
Yeah.
I mean, the attention span of folks is pretty slim, especially after COVID. So sometimes just use the technology we have. I mean, it takes 30 seconds to send a quick little text message. You can do it in mass now. Yeah. If you so choose. And the message remains the same. The message is the same for all of your clients.
So you're doing that, you're doing that video for all clients or specific?
Sometimes for specific, but most of the time it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's a, hey, we did really good things together. We hope you're happy. What else is going on in your life that you need to talk through or that we can help with?
Yeah.
And I can't be a therapist. I'm not a very good therapist. But I can help connect you with a lot of people in a lot of different professions.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find, because one thing that we talk about a lot, anybody, whether it's a business or in your personal life, you have your group of advisors, but if you ask anybody who's your most trusted advisor, or typically it's always the surveys and the statistics say the CPA is, for whatever reason, but they typically are. But people always have their accountant, they have their lawyer, they have their banker, whatever. But do you find that, but we talk a lot that insurance is sometimes like the last thing, when in reality it's a very key component of all of that. And we should be positioning ourselves in basically the same light you're talking. Do you find that same thing on the mortgage side where maybe folks don't look at you that way, but you're able to change that perspective over time?
I think so. I think it goes back to the relationship.
Yeah.
And being able to have that relationship where they're open to asking questions. I will agree. I think a CPA is probably one of your most trusted. And I think that's because if the IRS comes after you, you have
really
them
scary.
in your corner, right?
Yeah.
That's that is
the
most important piece, right?
I think you're right on that.
But I do think if you align yourself in position with other people in these industries, CPA, financial advisor, attorneys, all of that, those relationships can sometimes get built for you.
Yeah.
So, I do network with people in other professions and even in my own profession, because there are times where you can refer back and forth. And that's such an awesome thing to do. I'll give you an example. So I had a client who had gone through a really bad divorce, and her ex-husband had not filed taxes, in like 6 years-ish. And it didn't come out until the divorce. And so we were able to help connect her. She said, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the questions where, okay, have you filed taxes? And she said, no, I just found out I haven't. Like, okay, do you have somebody that we can connect you with, or do you need someone? And we were able to connect her with Danny Sensky, which was on your podcast too.
Oh, yeah.
And they just take phenomenal care of people. And knowing that you are like taking the stress out of that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, when somebody calls you and they're like in tears, they're like, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, we're going to fix it. You're a fixer. You're a problem solver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to have those relationships.
That instantly puts you in a trusted advisor seat. For sure.
Try. It's the same thing in your industry.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So then what's do you think, because it's leading me down the road of basically kind of putting this back on you as somebody who can build relationships quickly, build trust quickly,
Yes.
really good at maintaining them, and da. Like, how have you been able to do that effectively? Like, what's kind of what's Lisa's secret sauce to building rock solid, trusted advisory relationships?
This is my gift. I don't know how to say it any other way, but it's truthfully
Jesus.
my gift. Yes. I don't know.
All right, everybody,
why
compete
or
with
how,
that.
Yeah.
But it's been my gift. I love people,
Mhm.
and I think so. Part of that comes naturally to me because I really do care. I love to serve.
Yeah.
So I think part of it's just a natural talent that I have
Mhm.
that I've actually identified. Like, I know this about myself. I know this is my strength. There are other things that are not, but this one's one of them.
Yeah.
And I think investing your time, like you said,
Yeah.
being relatable with your client. Like, I've been through a lot of crazy stuff in my life. And so when somebody tells me they're going through a horrible divorce, I can say, yep, I've been there.
Yeah.
I hope that it gives you the same peace as it did me when you got divorced.
Yeah.
I can only say that. Like,
Yeah.
actually being relatable
know,
to someone
yeah.
instead of just having it be a transaction. Like, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I've had my own financial hardships that came with that divorce that I went through. I have been furloughed from my job, and like, everything has fallen apart all at the same time. So I try to tell people, you should never ever be embarrassed about anything. I don't care what your credit score is. I don't care what happened. My goal is to get you where you want to be. And there's no shame.
Yeah, totally.
So I think a lot of people sometimes don't want to talk to us because they're scared. They're scared they're going to be judged.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're afraid they're not going to be able to afford whatever they're asking for. They don't want somebody to look at their credit, their spending habits. Like, those are hard things to share.
Yeah. Personal stuff.
It's very personal, yes, and some of it ties into the way they live with their family, or sometimes their obligations that they have, with previous lives that they may have encountered. So I think making it a safe space
Yeah.
goes back to that relatability.
But you being the advisor and understanding all of that stuff that you just rattled off, it's already giving you a leg up and going in to have a conversation versus a competitor of yours who might just breeze past all of that.
Or not even talk to them on the phone.
Right.
There's so many things that are done electronically now that a lot of times I know other loan officers who don't even meet their clients. They never talk to them on the phone. I mean, we make it a practice. The first thing I'm going to do is talk to you on the phone and figure out what you want.
Old school.
Yeah. It's old school. I know.
It's
it is
that
old school to say,
relationship.
hey, I got to schedule a call
I
with
use
you.
the phone more
Yeah.
than anything else.
Yeah. It's very, so you'll either have people who love it or you'll have people who hate it.
Yeah. Stick to
And even the
email.
people who hate it will see the value in it.
Yes.
When you have you're like, okay, I know, sorry, you got to take 15 minutes out of your day. I got to talk to you about this because I got to make sure it's right.
Yeah. Well, they know when anything hits the fan, that when the email people, when anything hits the fan, they're not firing up their email machine. They're picking up their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it goes back to building that relationship, too, because it's very difficult to build a relationship, when it's just a transaction, when it's
Yes.
all online or it's all via email or
You got to learn about people.
100%.
Yeah.
And you said something there that it's super important. I need to take this 15 minutes to talk to you because this is a super important
Yes.
decision.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we could just pump a mortgage through and see you later, but I want to make sure that it's right for you. And I think the same thing applies in all facets of risk management industry or any sort of financial industry, because they're big life decisions
Yes.
for people. But again, I think like in the insurance business and some of those, because there's a product there, even
You're
though it's
selling
intangible,
something.
you're selling something. And so now it's even our clients view it as, let's just say 15 minutes, 15% in 15 minutes. You get the commercials and so everything, it's just the same thing, right? And it's like, no, it's not. You need to take the time to understand it. And, we can only do so much to understand your situation. So you need to understand what you're purchasing. It goes back to that education piece that you're talking about a lot too, that I think is so important. Because people how much time can we spend with a client and then still have like, now what is that?
Right.
'Cause nobody.
It's a lot of information to digest as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody cares about it.
well, no, not only that, but I mean, you've got so many things going on.
Yeah.
Learning about another industry,
Yeah.
like actually learning about insurance,
Yeah.
is not something people want to do.
No.
They don't want to learn about mortgages either. They just want to know, what are the hot spots? What do I need to know?
Yeah.
What are those important things?
I refied, I don't know, last March or something. And again, it's like, you do what everybody does. You sign all the paperwork and then you leave with that packet, and that packet gets filed somewhere, wherever my wife puts it. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then I log on and I pay the bill. It gets sold 2 or 3 times. I rehook up all my payment information and then I'm done. Like, I don't know.
No, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
No, because your person in the beginning should have said, this is what your payment's going to be, and this is what it's estimated at closing, and this is when we're going to close, and this is what you're going to do during the process. And then at the end, they should have gone through all the numbers with you.
Yeah.
And then told you, your loan's going to go here, or here, there, or wherever.
Yeah, expect
We keep ours,
this. and
thankfully,
da-da-da-da-da.
but yes.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
And even
I
after
can't stand
closing,
when I get
we send out a note. Here's how you make your payment. Here's how you set up auto pay.
Yeah.
Like, we send it, like next month, we're going to send out all the closing disclosures for everyone that closed this year, so they don't have to dig it out for taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just some extra little things that make life easy.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I think
well,
we are
Client experience translates
everywhere.
on another industry. Imagine that.
Yeah, wow. Wow, yeah, we were just talking about that on ours. That goes back to, I remember we were talking about, like, goes back to the client experience. Wow, what do you know? Well, thank you, though. That was,
Yeah,
that was
appreciate
fun.
you
It goes
coming on.
fast, doesn't
It does go fast. Thank
We
you for
did it.
having me on. I
Yeah.
hope something I shared was valuable.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I thought it was great, yeah. I think everybody's going to get a lot out of it. So we appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.